Blood Bowl fans. Welcome to the first of our installments, Blood Bowl Tactica. Today we're not actually going to cover the game, we're going to cover basic principles of the game. So, for purpose of this little tutorial, or whatever you want to call it, Tactica, we are proxying my nun team as a human team. And what we're talking about today is managing risks. Now, if you're new to Blood Bowl, or if you never played before and you're thinking about it, we're not going to be discussing how the rules work or the mechanics right now. But basically, we're going to cover just one aspect of the game, which is the turnover concept. So basically, how the turnover concept works is if you mess up during your turn ends. And it's unique in that way. Unlike Fantasy, 40K, or a lot of other tabletop games, you make a mistake, let's say you fail to kill your land raider or something like that, or your target, you could always back it up with another squad. Blood Bowl is a little bit different because if you make a mistake, your turn drastically ends. Adds a little bit of excitement to it, but also can be frustrating. So let's assume this is our turn, okay? I have control of the human team here, and the ball has landed like so. First thing I want to do is the safest move on the field, the one that requires no dice rolling whatsoever, which I would move a couple of guys to protect the ball. Just in case none over here drops the ball, at least the defenders would have to either waste a blitz to try to free up tackle zones or have to make some serious dodges. So that would be the safest move, and that's where I would start. Number two, I would move on to what I call two-die blocks, meaning that when you perform a block action, you have you compare the strengths of the two players involved in the block. So in this case, both players have are equal strength, but I have a player assisting, so that would give me a bonus of 2 dice. I get to pick the better of the result, therefore doubling my chances to get a more favorable roll. So I roll that, and guess what? I got a POW, which is exactly what I want. Knocking the player down and giving me an advantage. After that, I'm moving on to a single die block, where I have 0 assists, as you can see. The opponent has 0 assists, so it's a single die block. It's pretty risky, but I've done all my safe moves, and so I would go ahead and try to increase my number advantage. I lucked out there, I got a POW, I would knock her down. Okay, there's a little bit of stuff that we're leaving out for the tutorial. I would roll on armor and see if I can injure them, etc., etc. But we're trying to keep it simple here. The last move I would do is actually try to pick up the ball. And here's where you want to think about which player on your team is best to pick up the ball. So you want to look at agility, you want to look at skills like sure hands. Sure hands would allow me to reroll, therefore increasing my chances. So assuming I'm moving her to the square, I roll. Guess what? She's got the ball. I can continue on with my turn, and if I suffer a turnover on some other end, it's not so bad. I've done the majority of the damage. So that's how I would prioritize my turn. What about you, Bob? All right. So to summarize, basically, you would move, and that would include if you had a player knocked down, stand up all knockdown players that you can, perform normal moves, and then perform 2 die blocks, single die blocks. Then I would move on to actually picking up the ball, or moving on to dodges if I wanted to. That way, yeah, dodges, fouls, or whatever. The more riskier, of course, being at the bottom of my priority list. And in this case, I have secured the ball. I have several helpers around the ball. And if I suffer a turnover at this point, I'm okay. So I'm going to pass it over to Bob. So how would you play this turn?
Alright, there's many different ways of how you can start a turn. It all depends on what you think is most important to you, like whatever you prioritize most important. So personally, I would actually move with people that have no risk factor at all, which are people that you just want to move on free spaces and stuff like that require no rolling, no dice rolls, and none of that nature of that matter. So whoever you want to do, move them first, I would say. So since these, I don't have to roll nothing like that of that. So I move them there. Moving them there to protect the ball, so if anything goes wrong, I got them to back it up. So make it a little harder for them. Personally, second, I would go, even though it's a pretty high risk factor, I would go straight for the ball. Because if you get the ball now, it would require them more effort because they then have to blitz you and then pick up the ball, and it's just a lot more mess compared to them just running and jumping in the tackle zone and picking it up, and they can just like chuck it out. But it'll just make it more harder for them. So personally, I would go to pick up the ball. Say you made the roll, and so then you have the ball there. And so that'd be my first start there, moving the free spaces and then going for the ball. Second, I would do the 2 dice block.
One thing that we need to touch on is that there are a lot of skills that give you rerolls in this game. So, for example, your passer here would have sure hands. So if she went for that ball and she fails, she gets a free reroll. Any skill that allows you to have a reroll, I would prioritize over an action that didn't have the option of a free reroll. So that you have to take in account too. So what type of skills do you see in this current setup that would help you prioritize your actions? Bob?
For example, like you said, sure hands for like the catchers. For the throwers, will have like pass and stuff like that. That will assist them when throwing the ball. And then on your linemen, you would have like guard and stuff like that would give them an assist in a tackle zone no matter what. And that just helps out and helps your team out, like opening holes up into the opposition side.
Obviously block, because block ignores the both down. So if you have any blitzers on your team, throwing blocks or throwing blitzes with people with blocks would have to be higher on the on your priorities of actions, right? Mm-hmm. So basically, keep in mind, you get a couple games in, make sure you know who has what skill. It's very important. Helps you decide what you want to do. It helps you decide who's going to do it first. And then your more riskier rolls, if you fail, at that point, at least you've secured the ball or you've knocked down a few players to sort of help you when the other guy's going. So with that in mind, that's basically the summary.
Yeah, and you got fouls and stuff like that.
Yeah, fouling would be, it's pretty safe because any doubles will, either on the armor roll or the injury roll, will result in a turnover. And keep this in mind, the ref will kick out your player for the game. But it's a pretty safe move considering if you're going to do a single die block without any rerolls or a single die dodge without any rerolls. I would pick the fouling. I'd say fouling is probably safer than those rolls. So, so as you guys go out there and play, keep risk in mind, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this session. This is Heretic and Bob Dole.
My job for me, my job make no sound. Echo for me underground.
Okay. All right. Welcome, Blood Bowl fans. Wait, do I gotta say that again?
Just cut it. You can always cut it like.